Okay, so I know that usually you're the one who picks our topics.
Yep.
And I always like that because it's a little bit of a surprise and a mystery and it gets me going. It's a little bit like sitting, frankly, with a client, who has a question about something. But today I wanted to switch it up just a little bit and talk about, of all people, Jordan Peterson. And I gave you an article to look at just before we went on air, and I think it says some things that are really important for us to talk about today. And I think they're a little cray-cray, but widely popular. And I thought we could talk about the content and why I think they're widely popular, if that works for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like Steve said, I usually come up with the stuff, but this time he handed me this, Jordan Peterson's face on it. So it's from the Institute for Family Studies, and it says Jordan Peterson's radical take on marriage.
Yeah, and I think it's more of a radical take on divorce, as in thou shalt not.
Yeah, well, it says in the article here, it says Peterson is a rare and pointed critic of divorce. So that right there kind of butts up against what you would say, because you are pro-divorce, correct?
Yeah, I think everybody should get one. No, I wouldn't say it's 100% different, but in his case, the rigidity is what differentiates his position from my own, because he would say, and he does say something like, divorce is absolutely unacceptable. He doesn't say it quite like that, but that the institution of marriage is a good. And for that language, he reaches back, although he doesn't do it in this article, but he reaches back all the way to the time of Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas. And according to those two philosophers, the family, the notion of family, is a good. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
And divorce, since it would be the antithesis of family in his view, is not a good.
Yeah.
But
so simple, caveman.
Yeah.
This good, this bad.
Yeah, very simple that way, very binary. But I think since Thomas Aquinas' time, which was about 800 years ago, we've evolved. We've matured a bit as a species. And I don't think we are any longer prepared to live with the idea that the state should legislate divorce out of existence, and that we should never, ever consider divorce, despite maybe overwhelming evidence that it would be a good idea. So I'm a humanist. I don't make any bones about that. But as a humanist, it seems to me that our institutions should serve humanity. Marriage is one of those institutions. But he flips that idea on its back and says, no, humans need to serve the institution, that it's a bit like a Procrustean bed, that once we are in it, we will fit it regardless of whether it fits us. We will make ourselves comply with the overall idea. And yet, as a parent, I just have a hard time thinking that there would be loving parents out there who would insist that their daughter stay with a man who was physically abusing her.
But that's going to lead to her truth, according to
him, because he does say something about, if you open the idea to the possibility of divorce, then you remove all possibility of telling the truth. And this is really just the opposite. He gets Aquinas exactly backwards, because for Thomas Aquinas, yes, marriage was a good, and the goal was to raise the children and to educate them before launching them into society. But he said also, very importantly, that marriage was to be characterized by one partner. He uses that very gay word, partner. One partner treating the other partner with honesty and charity. And charity would be interpreted here at least as kindness, that we're not going to be abusing each other. But I think for Jordan Peterson, who I don't know if he ever has dealt with a client in his life who was in an abusive situation. But the idea that one would tell another person, that one human would tell another person, you have to stay in a relationship where you're getting abused. Well, that just makes no sense to me, because it's the complete opposite of marriage, except for the superficial continuation of the institution. The two people remain married, they just hate each other, that's all.
Yeah, it seems like a classic American family to me. Maybe Canada too, because he's, he's Canadian, so maybe that's Canadian. The same up there.
Yeah, and I heard he was ill, and I'm sorry about that, but his ideas live on. And the first video this author mentioned, she said it was only 50,000 views when she first saw it. Then it quickly shot up to 4 million views, and now it's at 5 million plus views since I've last looked at it. And so there are a lot of people who seem to enjoy his thinking there. And I do have a theory about that. It's a fairly controversial theory.
About why people like him? Because he's a dominating daddy. and he's putting these people in check.
That makes it sound very sexual. No, I wasn't thinking that. He's a daddy dom.
But I think he's got good ideas, but one thing is like the anger. They're very angry. They're very like telling you what to do. They're like a dad when I grew up in like the suburbs, like a conservative father who wants to control the household and be that iron fist and do as I say because I know best for you.
And what a great foundation for marriage that is.
Yeah. And also like what other guy, I mean, I guess there's millions of guys who just want to like bow down to him like that. So they're looking at him as their daddies. I
think he is being sought out and beloved by my incel clients because he's telling them something that reinforces their own worldview, that women who want out of a relationship are bad, that they should stay and work through it no matter what, and that...
So I told my last girlfriend.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
Don't freak me out like that. So,
but I should have.
According to him.
According to this guy.
Yeah, I think the incels I work with, they would say that anything that helps perpetuate the relationship is a good thing. And even to the point of legislation.
Yeah.
If we need to outlaw marriage, so be it. But women should have to stay, damn it. And I'm thinking, okay, the flaw in that argument for any of us is that marriage, among other things like raising children, has some other supremely good things about it. And first thing that comes to my mind is the end of a certain kind of loneliness, the loneliness that only a life partner could take care of.
Yeah.
But if my life partner is under my thumb and I'm dominating her and she is merely submitting to my domination, we're not really in a relationship based on equality. So I think that people, you've heard of jailhouse conversions, where somebody gets in trouble with the law, they go to jail, and then before they go before the judge, they kind of get involved in religion. And then when they go to court,
they found Jesus.
Yes, or something like that. I'm sure that in Muslim countries, there's a Muslim version of that, or Buddhist countries, there's a Buddhist version, or Hindu countries, there's a Hindu version of that.
Because if you don't have Jesus or God in your life, then you're going to commit crimes.
Right, but once you do, now
once
that
you
you've
do,
seen
now
the light,
you don't commit crimes anymore.
Right, when those steel doors slam shut and you were set free.
Yeah.
Free in Christ. Well, I think a lot of us who have experienced deep personal relationship failure, we're very much interested in going back to church, going back to the beginning, when we were young, when we were little, or even if we've never been in church, going to a place where people say they have the answers. It's all down there in black and white. It's the Word of God, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And so when people go back to church, they often hear an anti-divorce message, and that reinforces my longing to not be divorced. And it also offers a certain type of analysis as to what was our failure. So if my wife divorced me, well, clearly she wasn't following God.
Yeah.
And had we both been following God, this whole thing would have turned out great. Or not.
Yeah.
And it that kind of thinking of going back to something more related to childhood, or to even just a very simple understanding, is a lot like the nostalgia craze going on in media with movies, where we all want to have movies that bring up something wonderful from our childhood, like all the Marvel Comics movies, the Transformer movies. Basically anything that is familiar and nostalgic becomes very dear to us. And going back to the sweet, sweet words of the gospel that we already rejected as we got older, all of a sudden now those words are calling again and beckoning to a more stable, predictable life. And I think that's Jordan's...
So you think that that's why people are flocking towards him?
I do. I think it's the same impulse that leads them back toward religion.
I think young men need to get another hobby if that's the case.
Like communism or...
Well, Jordan, we'll just go in nature. It's like, you don't need to go to church. It's like, seriously, I grew up Catholic, and like I tell you all the time, I've learned nothing there. I would never go back there if they paid me. There's nothing I got out of being a Catholic except for it's boring, and you got to hold strangers' hands and say they're our Father, and you got to do peace be with yous, and you got to sit up, you got to stand up, down, up, down, up, down, while the priest goes on and on about, I don't even know what he's talking about. It's so boring. I just glaze over.
For our Canadian audience and those living in the Vatican, I had nothing to do with this.
Well, he's Christian, right? And
I guess.
Yeah, I went to a Christian church. This is another thing, Jordan Peterson, if you're listening, you'd like this. I went to a Christian church in Chicago because my girlfriend at the time, her friends became Christians. And I was like, I got to go see this nonsense. And it's in like Logan Square, which is a hipster part of town. So it's like, I went to it. It was literally hipster church with like the priest is wearing a jean jacket. They have gluten-free communions at the table. And I was just like sitting there ripping it apart in my mind while I was attending it, and seeing all these like hipsters who I would never think that were religious praising this guy in a jean jacket and going up for gluten-free communion. It's so absurd.
Was the wine organic at least?
I don't even know if they had it, but I didn't even have wine. But it was just such like I don't know. I just don't know how men take that stuff seriously, to be honest. I mean, I'm kind of spiritual in a way, but to me, the Catholic Christian doesn't really appeal to me. I'm more into like Buddhism and stuff like that, which is more about being in the present moment and alleviating suffering. And it gives you like an actual path to like get to a better place in your life, kind of like you talk about with like creating a life worth living. I feel like that is similar to that path.
I don't want to interrupt you, but that Jordan Peterson talks about developing a life worth sharing. He doesn't explain in the video I watched, which is attached to this or linked to this article, he doesn't explain how you get there. And I think...
Well, he kind of does. You just get there because you stay and you deal with that. Because he says here, what do you do when you get married? You take someone who's just as useless and horrible as you are, and then you shackle yourself to them. And then you say, we're not running away no matter what happens. That's his prescription, which is completely the antithesis of what you preach, which is prevention from and also like having a life worth living, essentially.
I do talk a lot about, I'm cringing at the use of the word preach, but I do pound the drum a lot on prevention because I think that's the superior answer. But what happens if I marry somebody and she's not physically abusive? She's not even emotionally abusive. She's just addicted to drugs.
You work through it.
Yeah, and because I've shackled myself to her, and there is no amount of unshackling to be done because I've made this commitment, and that is going to help me mature. I'm going to develop a life worth sharing by staying married to a depraved, drug-addicted, horrible situation. That'll be great.
Well, I don't understand how because he is a smart guy and he's got a lot of good ideas, but it's like, how does he not understand that aspect of it? Or for instance, like, I said about the story that you shared about, a guy gets married, a very faithful guy that you had as a client, who then his wife comes to him and says, "I'm no longer having sex with you." And he does the truth, because that's going to get him to his truth, which means you're no longer going to have sex for the rest of your life. And he accepts that. And then after that, she becomes an alcoholic. And then I'll let you finish the story, which doesn't end well. But it's...
Oh, it doesn't end well. He ends up, unfortunately, her decision to be asexual is regarding him, has nothing to do with his own sexuality. He's the same sexual being he was the day before. And in order to quell some of his sexual hungers, he resorts to masturbating regularly. And he said he spent years on the floor of his bathroom masturbating. Before finally becoming dependent on pornography. And then as he became systematically desensitized and the internet came up, he discovered bizarre, crazy forms of pornography he'd never dreamed of.
Bizarro porn.
Yeah, including child porn. And that's when the FBI came knocking at his door, and he ended up, as an elderly man, spending, I think it was 7 years of his life in prison. Now, that's not good. I would not say that helped him to mature.
No, I would not at all.
No, it really kind of wrecked him. And he lived in a state where prostitution in licensed brothels was legal. And he could have gone there. He could have had an affair. But there's this other remedy Jordan Peterson does not like, and that is divorce. And I think it really makes sense for all of us to humbly accept that we have a history of making many mistakes in our lives. And that's why we put erasers on pencils, because we do make mistakes, even with simple problems. We do have the backward arrow to go through what we just wrote and strike it out, and we can edit our work. But when it comes to marriage, Jordan Peterson says, no, we should say stuck in the 13th century. We shouldn't have introduced divorce at all. And I'm thinking, yeah, but even if there was no physical abuse or even no drug abuse, aren't there many other circumstances where the notion of marriage simply becomes meaningless? And I was thinking, what if you marry someone who, over the course of time, comes to realize she really just doesn't like you? I mean, that's not psychopathology. That's just normal human relationships. Sometimes we meet people, they seem to like us at first. They kind of do like us. They're having sex with us. We get married, and we later on discover, wow, this was really an awful mistake.
Yeah.
She doesn't like me at all. Should I just stay with her because her Catholic background or her religious background or her Jordan Peterson background says you just stay and deal with it? And I think, no, I think thankfully in the United States, at least, we have the law on our side where we can go file for divorce. And it's really the humble admission of I made a mistake and the acceptance of the fact that I am powerless to make anybody love me.
Yeah.
I can't make my partner care about me. And it's not just that situation. I mean, sometimes the shoe is on the other foot, and I realize I don't really like her. The person I was thought he did, but I didn't really perform my due diligence. I didn't conduct an intentional interview the way Steve Ng talks about. And I married somebody who is utterly incompatible with me. I mean, like, they're on a different page on everything. And we either don't connect, or if we do discuss anything, it's always with animosity and backbiting. That sounds like a great way to spend the last 3/4 of your life. No, that does not. You know, it's funny. In my office, I often have people come to me who say, well, you know, but a deal's a deal. I made a vow and I'm committed to working this out. I don't really feel free to live because I made a promise to take care of her, or I made a promise to do this other thing.
I feel like it's like good guy syndrome. Oh, I'm a good guy, I'm going to stay. Or
Yes.
people pleasing too, which is like, isn't that like a horrible thing to do? It's like,
And it's also, I think, a lot about identity. You know, it's like, I am one of the good guys. I don't do things like that. I don't disappoint people. My parents would be very disappointed. My children would be very disappointed.
yeah.
Everybody, except really nobody really thinks about your marriage. So really very few people are going to care.
Yeah.
But
I think most people should just care. It's like, oh, they got away and they're happy now because they're no longer with the person. It's like, it should be like a celebration. You should have like divorce parties.
well, today you are here to do the work of the devil. I can see that. I don't maybe entirely agree with that.
But it is I mean, it's a hard thing, but it's also a freedom because you're getting out of something that's no longer working. So it could be painful in the moment, but in the long run, it's going to be better than if you stayed.
Yeah, there's some truth to that, but usually isn't it also true that when we break up, even when it's obvious that it's not going to work out,
it does hurt.
Yeah, it hurts, and there's a tear in the eye, and we regret, you know, that everything that's gone on in the relationship.
Yeah.
So I just think about the great number of people who are living with unhappiness, and including the many clients I have met, even just when I say many, I mean many in the last week, where
they're married and they're unhappy? Or?
They're married and they're unhappy. And when I delve further, she's a wonderful woman or he's a wonderful guy. And it's just that I'm just not happy. Okay, he's a wonderful guy. Yeah, really, would you say a very loving person? Or is she a loving woman? Well, she's a great mother. And yeah.
So they like avoid the question like a politician?
Yeah, a little bit, but not like a politician because they're uncomfortable. And they're uncomfortable with, even they'll go so far as to say, well, I know my spouse loves me. And I'll often have to ask, and how long has it been since you felt loved? And that's usually when the tears start rolling down their cheeks and there's a long silence and they finally admit they haven't felt loved, cherished, significant in years and years and years.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up question, when they tell me that no, the divorce is out of the question, I often ask, and is that the advice you would give one of your children if they were in this marriage, just like yours? Would you say to them, yeah, you should stay married. I mean, a deal's a deal. You put your name on the dotted line and, you know, you gotta stay the course. And they all say,
he says, if you
regardless of religion, every one of them says, oh no, I would never counsel my children to do that. So the difference between the advice I would give my child and the advice I would give myself in these circumstances, the difference is what we would call denial. That's the math problem.
That's
how much denial there is. Because when it comes to one's child, generally we're all aware of unconditional love. We just want them to have a great life.
Yeah.
We want them to be happy. We want them to be loved. But when it comes to ourselves, it's like, no, I can take it.
Well, I think that's it. I could take it. I've said that to myself in my last relationship. We weren't married, but there was things that weren't going well, but it was like, I can take it. I could take it.
Was it like basic incompatibility or?
There's sexual incompatibility there. And then there was also like, for instance, like saying I love you, she would like never say it to me. And I remember saying to her one time, like, you know, it's like you never like say it to me back. And she just didn't really say anything.
And
And
again,
it's funny
didn't
now.
say
It's funny now. That's why I could have this sense of humor about it. But it was devastating at the time. I mean, that
No,
relationship
I've gone through that.
wrecked me.
Yeah.
And but I was like trying to be the good guy, trying to stay, the denial was beyond belief. I mean, it was there, but I just kept telling myself.
But if a buddy had come to you, somebody you really cared about, a close friend, and told you about that same situation, would you have advised him, well, dude, you got to stay?
No, exactly. See, that's the thing. So even with friends, like you could see that, like, they're not my kids, but
You're
like
more
friends.
charitable.
Yeah.
You're more loving of your friend than you would be of yourself in that scenario.
Well, it's funny because too, like I remember my best friend at the time, 20-year friendship, he was like, yeah, she doesn't really treat you that well. He like said that to me one time.
Ouch.
And then I was like, oh yeah, he sees it. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm trying and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually what happened with that relationship was she broke up with me and then she became friends with my best friend's ex-girlfriend and him. And then they went off and became friends. And then I lost my friend and my girlfriend.
Maybe your ex was better as a friendly acquaintance than as a spouse.
For me?
For anybody.
Oh, well, she's married now, so.
Yeah, well.
Now she's going to find that she's going to find out
extend compassion to you, sir.
She's going to find out the truth, though, because now she's shackled and now they could then go on the truth journey together. And then,
right.
Because here's a Peterson, I like this. Peterson's view of marriage is that we've made a chaos out of marriage. And he says, it's a vow. It says, look, I know your trouble, me too, so we won't leave, no matter what happens. That's why you take it in front of a bunch of people. That's why it's supposed to be a sacred act. What's the alternative? And I was like, I don't know, Jordan Peterson. How about you don't go into a relationship when you're a mess and then just to accept, like, again, this is the product of Stephen Ng.
Oh, I hate it when you quote me.
Well, I feel like, but it's just like, it's that idea, like, I don't think I would get in a relationship now if I know somebody's trouble or if I know that I'm trouble. I know that there's things that will come up and you'll work through, but I don't think like, I know your trouble, me too, so we won't leave no matter what happens. I don't think I would ever say that to somebody because of what I've learned from my past mistakes of 3 long-term relationships and then applying those mistakes to what you talk about for your relationship technology. So I don't understand how he could say that. And again,
yeah, I think what's missing, and I hope the people viewing this can hear me. I think he's saying, no, you nailed down the relationship with a straitjacket called no divorce. Mm-hmm. Whereas I would be saying, no, you achieve intimacy by safely sharing your life with this person, including as a friend or as a date, and then eventually maybe as boyfriend, girlfriend, and then later on even as an engaged couple, but that it's incremental. It's not like, okay, we're going to lock this thing down and the rocket is shooting off to Saturn. Yeah. We'll be there in 3 years. Hopefully we won't kill each other on the way out, and then we will raise our children, on one of the moons of Saturn. No, I just don't think that's the way you do it. And this is why I sometimes doubt that he's a clinician, because that's not how people become friends. Why would we think that would be how people would achieve intimacy as marital partners?
But I think he's coming from a place that is the norm of relationships, where you're coming from like the alien perspective, if that as far as like what he does is usually normal. It's like everything that I did is kind of like within these guidelines. If I never met you, I probably would still be following along. But you're like, meet a girl, you like her, she likes you, boom, relationship. It's going good, 6 months, move in together. It's going good, hey, let's get married. Maybe have a kid.
Or it's going bad, but marriage would help us.
Marriage would help us, or a kid, or it's because we don't have a kid, let's have a kid. So this is the kind of thinking I think I had, and I think most people have, but your thinking is more again.
Which is why I will never go broke.
But you teach, like, what I do now, it's like taking your time, what's the rush? It's like always in my head.
If you're enjoying her.
Yeah, being completely authentic, showing up at like date one, like who you are, not trying to grasp and lock it down, not being like, oh, this person's amazing. All these projections I put on you. If you're like my love interest, I'm like, oh, she's got everything that I want. And I'm going to like say everything that she wants to hear to lock her down and trap her. And then keep her in there and hold her down. But it's like, I'd rather just show up and be like, here's who I am, lay it all out there, slowly build it safely, like you said, one disclosure at a time, slowly climb up the ladder of intimacy, slowly commit. And then it's like, if you do that, like the one thing I like that you said about marriage, it's like you watch a video, like a movie of a guy getting married, he's in the back room, slamming shots because he's so nervous about it all. But you say if you go in the way that you talk about, it's a gradual commitment. And then when you get to that level of marriage, it's just like, it's a natural thing. It feels good.
Like the next right step.
Yeah. So if that is your thing, you don't show up to marriage like he's saying
with shackles.
With saying, I know your trouble, me too. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, are you Fonzie or something? Like somebody in this, like,
for you young people, that would be a happy day.
The happy day. Yeah. But it's like, who is he? Or is he like, I know your trouble, me too, so we won't leave? It's like, that seems like a weird, dangerous situation to be getting into with somebody.
Oh yeah, you front load the whole of holy matrimony with dynamite, and then it's sort of a mutually assured destruction if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
I know your trouble. Well, what parent would counsel their child, be sure you find a partner who's like full of trouble? I instead would suggest that we all look for people who are at the very least emotionally stable. Oh yeah, and economically stable. They're not spinning beyond their means. And oh yeah, and they have this track record of working to overcome life's challenges. They're not just settling with those challenges like, say, early childhood trauma or substance addiction or some other problem. But it's, for some reason, Jordan Peterson doesn't see any of that in it. It concerns me, but I think he's the hero of the moment for millions of people, men and women, because he's really saying what in their heart of hearts they believe to be the true and only myth that explains holy matrimony. Because like the Holy Trinity, it is a mystery. And so you just have to persevere down the path of faith until you get to the promised land. And I don't think that's true. As a humanist, I would say human institutions, including marriage, are designed to serve humans. And he's turned it around to where it's the other way around, where the humans are supposed to serve the institution regardless of whether it immolates them or burns them alive before they pass. That they could just be total train wrecks, checking into a mental hospital because of their marriage, and that's acceptable because, well, it's part of the journey.
Yeah. Well, he also, again, shifting topics, or same topic, but he says, it says here, Peterson's vision of marriage is a dynamic one. Properly understood, it's a lifelong wrestling between two worthy adversaries who strengthen each other and help one another to sort out and improve upon their various personal struggles and weaknesses. And that's kind of the whole thing of, oh yeah, marriage is a struggle, marriage is a challenge. And that looked completely unappealing to me as a kid. And it made me not want to get married, made me not want to have like a real relationship because everything that I saw looked horrible. And it's like, I don't want to be in a lifelong wrestling match with an adversary And it's like, I like what he says about strengthening each other and helping each other sort out and improve their various personal struggles and weaknesses. And I think you talk about the same thing, but that's through, because it's like you're coupling together as a partnership to solve life's problems.
To face life's problems together by combining our resources and facing the challenges together. I like that idea. And I like the idea of a worthy adversary. I find in my wife that she's a very worthy adversary. She sees right through me. She's able to confront me when I get rigid, or I have some other character defect that's impeding me from making progress. And she'll call me out on that. And yet, in my marriage, it's all in an abuse-free context.
Yeah.
So she's never yelling at me, putting me down, calling me names. We're never trying to manipulate the other person.
Yeah.
And that's a different sort of confrontation. It's an honest, authentic, loving confrontation. And it really is in my best interests ultimately that I would stick around for that. That makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
But
I like that too. Like, that makes sense to me.
Right.
I think for me, the main word here is a lifelong wrestling. And when I think of wrestling, I grew up with wrestling. So it's like, I think of WWF, and I think of drama, and I think of like betrayal and getting your head smacked, and you getting your face smacked in with a chair.
shoulder
dislocated. It's like, so maybe the choice of words there, but the thing about the adversary and somebody having, like you always said, you needed someone who had the courage to confront you and the courage to call you out when you're being that way.
And the savoir-faire to know how to do it in an abuse-free manner.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm down for all of that. It's not like I need sunshine and rainbows every day, all day long, and it can only be bright and pleasant. There can be really hard times, and I may never get to buy that boat I've been dreaming of because she's reminding me of all my obligations, and damn it, I hate that. But that kind of thing is that is maturing. And so he's mixed the good with the bad here without any kind of sensitive discrimination as to what would actually be uplifting. We could say that, working out is really good for you. But nobody I know would say working out 10 hours a day is good for you. So I find his perspective here, and I'm saying this, for really the people viewing, the Jordan Peterson perspective on marriage is painfully naive. I would even say pathologically naive, because it doesn't allow for the true horror of some relationships to exist. And he has no contingency plans for that, except you remain shackled, you persevere, and that's what brings stability. And I think anybody listening to this far who hasn't already, changed podcasts would say, no, that'd be horrible for the children. To grow up in a family like that, where the parents are shackled together, and no matter what, they're not going to divorce. Doesn't matter how much abuse they're dishing out to the kids or how much abuse one of them is dishing out. Or I would say, no, the parents each individually have a responsibility to protect and shield their children from the abuse of the other and to confront that vigorously. And if that confrontation is unsuccessful in terms of resolving the issue, to ultimately, again, head on over to divorce court, because that would be the remedy that would protect the children. There are so many contingencies that he doesn't allow for, that allow for zero escape from really a horrible situation.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, like, I don't understand about it either. And I've listened to other things, like podcasts. One was the Club Random podcast with Bill Maher and him, and they were talking about relationships. And Bill Maher is like completely anti-marriage. He kind of grew up, he kind of has the same view that I had when I was a kid. And he's kind of, to me, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the guy, and he says things, whatever. He's not going to like contact me, but he seems like stuck in an idea, an irrational belief on marriage that he had as a kid and went over to adulthood, because I don't think he understands intimacy in the way that you describe it. And then Peterson seemed to have, when they were having that discussion, this sort of idea where there is a dynamic where the man is like the dominant one and the female submissive, and kind of like brought it back. It seemed like he brought it back to more of like primitive days where the man needed to be this way and the woman liked it. The woman liked the man to be dominant and to kind of be controlling and that sort of thing. And if he wasn't, he wouldn't be respected. It was something along those lines. I'd have to go back and like watch the whole thing. But
well, even if you're wrong about what you're remembering, I know that there are women who deeply want to be dominated, just as there are men who deeply want to be dominated, because our species is quite diverse, right? So the fact that that's true in some circumstances doesn't mean it's true in all circumstances. But more importantly to me, it has nothing to do with whether or not we're building a healthy relationship and a healthy partnership. Because even if, for reasons of her childhood upbringing and my own issues, I became dominant and she became submissive in our relationship, does that mean we're building something that's beautiful? Does that mean we're really building a relationship worth having? Would our children long for that sort of a relationship? I think if I were a young girl looking at parents like that, I wouldn't. I would absolutely not want that. But nevertheless, it would be familiar. So, because I've watched it countless times. And so, because it's familiar, a lot of people gravitate to that which is familiar because they know how, where to go and what all the cues are and how to play that game. And I think the problem is in that relationship hierarchy, whether she's at the top or he's at the top, the individuals involved are condemned to perpetual loneliness, because only in the context of a relationship based on equality could I actually be able to understand and be understood. Because if you're so far above me that you can't comprehend how I'm feeling, or vice versa, then we're not really taking care of that whole loneliness thing. So even the men who get the submissive, and sorry to say this, but stereotypes being what they are, often I hear my male clients who are incels talk about Asian wives who are submissive. Even if you got that and it became stable and that's what it remained the rest of your life.
But that's what they're after. They're incels.
That's what they're talking about.
That's what. Okay.
And but I think it would be ultimately very lonely. And because it's so lonely, again, it wouldn't be stable. So
because they can never connect with them at that equal level, because they always know more.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. So, but they always have to be in charge as well. But if you're always large and in charge and you always know better, and in every situation, even if you don't know, you just know because of your having the appropriate genitalia, you know, then how is it that you could ever really connect with a person? And instead, I believe real leadership isn't about dominance. Real leadership in a family is about service. It's a gift we give each other. And my wife is a lot better and a lot more skilled at certain things than I am. She's far more knowledgeable at certain areas of life than I. And my job is to get out of her way and let her do her thing so that, that service she brings to our family benefits all of us. Instead of pushing myself in front of her, like Donald Trump in front of the other world leaders in Europe, pushing myself to the front.
Is that what he did?
Literally. I watched him actually push somebody out of his way.
He's the man, though. He's got to be up there.
But when we do that, we impoverish ourselves and the rest of the group of those who might conceivably have greater gifts in a given area.
Yeah.
So it's
but not if you're the greatest mind who's ever existed.
The problem is it's unstable because there is no way any of us who are willing to really ponder these things can conceive of a universe where I and I alone know the right answer or the best answer for every conceivable situation. That's just not true. That's never going to be true. So it would be far more adaptive and therefore a far more successful strategy for a family to be comfortable with being flexible and letting the people who are really more leadership material in that circumstance take the lead.
So like you taking the lead over Peterson.
Well, I'm convinced I will be buried in a pauper's grave, known by the rest of the world. But if he is beloved by millions, my sense is they just find him reassuring. Yeah, nothing's changed. It's the same old gospel tune, and we just need to get with the program and be faithful. And if it doesn't work, well, we didn't do it right. We need to be more faithful next time.
Yeah. Why do people like Jordan Peterson and lots of other people, Donald Trump, Elon Musk maybe, feel like they know everything? Like,
why do they?
Like, what is that? What is going on? Like, therapeutically,
personally,
because like you say you don't have all the answers. I could say I don't have all the answers. I'm just
hardly any.
Yeah, I'm just the guy who's got a bunch of papers on my lap trying to ask you questions and understand this myself and tell it in the simplest way possible. But these guys come out there and they're so self-assured. They feel like their word is gospel. It's their way or the highway. Is that like, what is that? Like, is that like a religious thinking? Like,
well, I think they're prisoners of their own self-created mythology, where because they're really smart or really successful in one area, like Donald Trump was able to inherit a lot of money. So he's very successful. And you take that success and then you apply it to areas of life where you have no knowledge whatsoever. And then it becomes your identity over time. And I think a more realistic perception of our species is that we are part of a vast, wonderful, bell-shaped curve that is extremely diverse, where inclusiveness is essential and fairness or equity becomes very adaptive, very important, rather than keeping the money always in the hands of those who've already got money and all their descendants, to have things be genuinely fair so that we have a chance for the best to rise.
In whatever area. They're the best at.
Right. I mean, I have a feeling that if it came down to it, it was important. Donald and Elon would both probably grab the scalpel and perform the brain surgery on you or me. Just because.
Well, I'm already signed up on Elon's wait list to get my microchip in, or whatever he's going to put in my brain.
Nice. So what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to, close today, since this was my idea to bring this up, with an observation from Edward O. Wilson, the famous biologist from Harvard who's since passed. And he observed that, in his opinion, the human race was one of a very small number of species on the planets that were not like other species. In fact, they were so different they deserved a new name called eusocial species, meaning spelled with an EU, and that the characteristics of a eusocial species were, number one, diversity of occupations. We were all different, doing different things in this very complex culture, or in our case, civilization. And number two, something that you will see very obviously missing in the lives of the men we've been talking about, and that is empathy. For a eusocial species, empathy is essential because we have to know how each other are feeling for us to govern our behavior. That's the basic foundation of our morals, is having things be fair and humane. And if we don't have empathy, well, we would be blind to that which is humane. We would have no problem with being inhuman to one another and to be lacking all humanity in our treatment of one another. So for a eusocial species, even the ants, Edward O. Wilson would say, there's evidence of empathy. And so
which I feel is greatly lacking in the world.
It is greatly lacking. And I would go so far, perhaps this is one thing worth remembering. I would go so far as to say those humans who we perceive as lacking empathy are not truly human. They are merely human-shaped objects. They look human from a distance, but as we get to know them, they're of an entirely different sort altogether. They haven't evolved to that place where they could actually have empathy for their fellow humans. And that is somebody to be careful around. And I think that's it.
All right. Well, we'll end it there. So,
aren't you glad we talked about this?
Yeah, it was great.
You better say that.
Yeah. Okay.